Hi, I'm Steve. Let's go over the basics of brewing. In the next 3 videos, we'll be covering everything you need to know from equipment to bottling techniques. Today, let's talk about equipment. Selecting equipment that is functional, simple, and versatile will minimize your brewing costs. For your brew kettle, the largest pot you own should work just fine, even if that's just a gallon. Now, the more headspace you have, the lower your chance of a boil-over. However, for extract brewing, you don't need a huge pot. Bigger pots, 1, take longer to boil, and 2, are harder to cool, and 3, they take up a lot of space. Right around 3 gallons is just about perfect for the stovetop brewing. And it's also great for making spaghetti for the family. If you're a big beer fan and using all grain, the kettle might be 10 gallons for a 5-gallon batch. But that's beyond the basics. After you've boiled and cooled the wort, it's time to transfer it to the fermenter. There are a number of different types of containers that can be used for fermentation, but it's hard to beat the plastic bucket. The buckets sold at most homebrew stores are the surefire way to go. Some things to look for are that it has a seal around the lid, and there's a hole with a grommet in it for the fermentation lock. You'll want a bucket to be at least 20% larger than the batch you're making, so for a 5-gallon batch, at least a 6-gallon bucket is required. This allows the head of the yeast, or carcasson, to rise during active fermentation. Lastly, let's go over measurement equipment. A hydrometer is used to measure the concentration of sugar in the wort and the beer. Look for one that comes in a tube. This can be used to hold the measurement sample. The measurement range should be from 0.99 to 1.1 at least. To make precise measurements, the graduated lines should be in increments of 2 or less. For basic extract brewing, you'll need a thermometer to help you achieve the appropriate steeping temperatures for the specialty grains. As long as the temperature is maintained from 140 to 160, the grains are going to release their sugars and proteins without much tannins. When it comes time to bottle, you'll need a siphon to take your beer off the yeast cake. An auto siphon makes this a simple task. To get the beer into bottles, there are 2 basic routes to go. Either you can use a bottling wand or a bottling bucket. The bottling bucket has a spout near the bottom used to fill the bottles. Now, the bottling wand uses a siphon to fill the bottles. It has a spring-loaded valve on the bottom, so that when it presses the bottom of the bottle, it'll open. When selecting bottles, a pop-top lip will generally seal better than a twist-off, although some people have no problems with the twist-off bottles. Twist-offs are also more fragile and can break while capping. The second thing to look for is a long straight neck and a skirt. This will give the capper something to hold on to. Once you've finished filling the bottles, you'll need to cap them. The butterfly capper is probably the most economical way to do this. Another option would be the bench capper. The bench capper must be adjusted for the height of the bottles, but once it's set up, it's a little easier to use than the butterfly. Well, that's about all the equipment you're going to need. Now, if you pick up an equipment kit, you're probably going to save a little time and a little money too. So, good luck on your first brew.